Drivers behind the line, starting in 3, 2, 1, rebuild.
First 20 seconds of the rebuild match is completely autonomous pro. What's moving around the field, pre-programmed 868, surfing the field like they typically do. They'll end up grabbing a couple of those from their neutral zone and head back over. Blue Alliance releasing all of their preloaded fuel into their hub and getting a little bit of assistance from their human player. Each of those yellow spheres you see on the field of play are known as fuel, and each of them worth 1 point while their Alliance hub is active. 1024 uniquely able to climb up on top of the tower, getting 15 points for hanging on that first rung. Scores 45-13 in favor of your Red Alliance, so Blue will get that first Alliance shift after our brief moment of transition period. Both of those hubs are currently active. 1024 kilobytes heading out to the center of hard field, trying to grab as much fuel as possible from that neutral zone. 10-4-1-1, the G-Code Generals launching a couple of those fuel into their hub while it's active. One of their Alliance partners, 9790 Crypto Creek 2, trying to push some of that fuel into their Alliance area, making it easier for their partners to pick up and score. 8103 Night Robotics, scoring a couple of those game pieces of their own into their hub, each of those worth 1 point while the hub is active. Red Alliance now with their own hub active, trying to score a couple of those game pieces, each of those worth 1 point. 868 helping getting their teammate 971 Slicer Tech get unstuck on top of the bump. 1024 the kilobytes picking up those fuel from just in front of their human player station, trying to launch those now into their hub. Many teams making use of the human player station called the Outpost to get those fuel in a position ready for their human players to score. Back on the Blue Alliance, they've been picking up that fuel throughout most of that time while their hub has been inactive. Now that their hub is active, they're positioning themselves to get ready for launching those fuel into their hub. 8103 Night Robotics from Kendallville, Indiana, successfully doing that for their team. Scores currently 139-56. This is the second time the Blue Alliance has had their hub active, so they're trying to tighten up that gap between them and the opponents of their alliance. 868 shuttling some of those game pieces into the far side of the field. 1024 now using some of those to launch into their hub. Teaming up with Carmel High School's 868 and Indianapolis's Kilobytes to launch as much fuel as possible. They're eyeing out that 360 ranking point with only 40 seconds remaining in the match. Doesn't look very possible. Blue Alliance continue to score game pieces of their own, 40 of those away from that energized ranking point threshold, allowing them to get points even if they don't win the match. Final 30 seconds. Here's the endgame period. Teams have the opportunity to elevate it off the ground and climb for 4 points for their alliance. Many teams, though, will continue to score fuel into their alliance hub, since both of those are now active for the remainder of the match. 15 seconds until this match terminates. 91-70 doing their best to get those game pieces onto their opponent's side. With only 10 seconds remaining, the match scores currently 80-267. Alliance Red trying to head up to that supercharged ranking point. This match just about ended, though. So let's see how these scores total up for qualification match 64. Score of 289 to Blue Alliance's 88. Big differentiator there, of course, in fuel. Red getting 224 of those during the teleoperated period. Red Alliance getting 4 ranking points, 3 for winning the match, and 1 for cresting that energized ranking point threshold, which requires at least 100 fuel. Stick tight for qualification match 65 here at the FIN District.